All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am with one of my favorites, if not, I can't say the first favorite. Uh,
You gotta say it.
um, my first favorite student at Valley. We went through so much. We endured a pandemic together. Um, she is my class rep. Seriously, like in my first year trying to figure out the lay of the land, and she was like, "Hey, Mr. Reese, this is." I was like, "Okay, okay, all right, saving my tail," because I didn't know how parents were like at Valley. Like, Mr. Reese, you messed up on this point spread. I was like, "Oh, okay." So she put me on so much game, and I can't imagine uh how she's been there for her peers. She's definitely made um the school a better place in regards to the atmosphere. It was fun. It's been fun. Um, and so with her light that she shared with me, she shared with our class, and she shared with my morning 2A freshman class, which did not know what was going
My
on.
favorites.
Um, her love and her warmth, her sunshine, I want to share with the rest of the world. So hopefully someone can hear her responses and just get some affirmation and get permission to continue being themselves. Because I know Mia is 100% herself. So welcome, Mia.
Yay, thanks for having me.
So the prerequisite for coming on is you have to, you're gonna wear your favorite shirt, t-shirt, sweater. What do you have on, and why do you have that on?
Okay. This shirt is actually way too small for me, but once I tell the story, it'll make sense.
Okay.
It's like this long turtleneck, like camel, like brownish
Mm,
color. Okay, and so the reason why is because I was born in Canada actually. So my mom's family, like my grandparents on my mom's side, live in Vancouver. And so I think a core part of my childhood was like,
mm,
growing up in San Jose, like Sunnyvale Bay Area, but
yeah.
every single year we would visit Vancouver like once just to see my grandparents.
Mm,
Like it was always like a vacation, but when I was younger, my mom would take me shopping at the mall that's literally like 2 blocks from my grandparents' apartment.
mm,
It's apparently one of the biggest ones in Canada. And so as like, a shopping addict in training, like that was like ideal for me. But I would just
yeah.
tag along and like um my mom would shop at this one brand called Aritzia, which has
Mm,
become a large part of my life now.
yeah.
But back then I had no idea. I just thought she was shopping for clothes or whatever. And as I got older, I think I got the shirt when I was like it was one of the very first pieces I ever got from there. And
Mm,
it just meant a lot because it was like, like it's nostalgic kind of thinking about like going shopping with your mom when you were a younger girl. And like
yeah.
now you're like older and like just go with your friends. And like, I don't know, I wish I cherished those moments a little bit
Mm,
more. But the reason why I wore it today was I told you briefly about it already, but
yeah.
like I worked at the Aritzia in, the Bay Area location. I won't say which
Mm,
one, but the summer after my senior year of high school. And it was kind of like a full circle moment,
yeah.
kind of like completing my childhood, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I would only work there when I would be home for breaks, but they convinced me to consider transferring to the location near my college. I go to Northwestern, by the
Yeah.
way, in Chicago. It's great if anyone's thinking they should go. But I had my first day there today, which was really nerve-wracking, but I don't know, I just felt like
Mm,
very anxious and like scared going
yeah.
in for my first day, even though I've done kind of all of it before.
Mm,
But seeing like a fresh set of faces was like
yeah.
scary. Anyway, I'm rambling. But
You're
that's why I
fine.
wore it today because I just felt like, like nostalgic of
Yeah.
like the good old like childhood memories and like I don't know. Yeah.
That's that's so cool. That's so cool. Um, in regards to your passion, um, what are you passionate about? What
Oh,
aren't you passionate about? And you can name as many as you want.
not passionate.
No. What are you passionate about?
Oh, what
Sorry.
am I
Yeah.
passionate about?
Yeah. I'm being sarcastic in regards to what are you not passionate about because you did everything.
I really like dance.
Mm,
Um, I did it my whole life and like I think it's just been it was like it's was something that I did like starting when I was like 3 years old and it's kind of been my like main activity and like hobby growing up. And like I never realized how important it was to me until I got to college because I stopped doing it here. Um, One, because I auditioned my freshman fall and I didn't make it onto the club that I wanted to, which was sad. But
Yeah.
like in hindsight, it was good because I would have like simply not been able to handle everything. And then I realized that I actually just didn't have time at all, which is really sad. So anyways, really passionate about dance. I miss it a lot. So whenever I go back home, I'll like still take classes at my dance studio that I grew up in for
Mm,
classical Chinese dance, which is really exciting and kind of quirky. But that's one thing I would
hmm
say. Um, Second thing, more general, I would say just like people. I'm a very extroverted person, if you can't tell by all the nervous laughter that I've been giving throughout this so far. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel my best when I'm like surrounded by people. Not that I can't spend time alone, but I just feel
Mm,
really energized and like excited, I guess,
yeah.
to go about my day. Of course, like everyone needs like moments to like be alone, but
Yeah.
I'd rather like do my work or like eat a meal or like
Yeah.
something, just like talking to other people or
Mm.
even like shutting up occasionally and listening to what they
Oh,
have to say. Um, and yeah, I feel like finding different communities is like a really important thing to me. Like
yeah.
even in high school, I feel like I had many separate communities, but like
Yeah.
it was like one whole one at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And even here, like transitioning to college was like pretty hard because like
Mm,
and maybe you can agree with me, but I think by the end of high school, I felt like I had my entire high school life figured out, and it was
yeah.
very cookie cutter, almost like
Yeah.
picture perfect in on
Yeah.
the surface. But then when I came here, I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't know anyone except for like two people from my high
Mm,
school, and like I don't know how to break into like any of these like seemingly
mm,
very like hard to get into or like elite or like
mm.
something like clubs, organizations, anything. So that was like a really kind of hard thing to do, but I talked my way through it. Just talking to people really helped, like figure out what I wanted to do. So yeah, I guess that's like two. Do you want
No,
to hear more?
I mean, if you have more, well, I will say, before before I jump onto dance, actually, um,
Okay.
yeah, you being an extrovert, that's not a lie, folks. I mean, I'm a super extreme introvert, so I think you love making me cringe.
It's a funny interaction. It's definitely an interesting dynamic we got going on most of the time.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. In regards to dance,
Mhm.
when did you own that passion? I mean, when was it like not something your parents made you do, or it was part of your culture? Like, when do you say like feel like it belonged to you?
I want to say sophomore year of high school, which sounds
Mm,
crazy because that's like really late
mm,
in my like dance, I guess if you want to call it a career journey, whatever it
mhm.
is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, I always liked it, but it was something that I did just for the sake of like doing it and because I wasn't bad at it, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. Like I really reached like I guess like a plateau when I
Mm,
started my teenage years, and my mom will definitely corroborate this story because we fought a lot.
mm,
But I just didn't really love it for the sake of like dance itself. It was more like, oh, I've so used to it. Like all
yeah.
my friends do it, and like it's just something I have to do. Um, and that's just because I only did like classical Chinese dance growing up. And
Mm,
so the reason why I say sophomore year of high school was because freshman year I joined Vivid, which is like for the people who don't know, it's my high school's dance team, and they do a lot of different styles, like I would say more American styles like lyrical, contemporary, hip hop, jazz, whatever. But it was my first time really like trying all of them, which was
okay.
really exciting. But also freshman year I felt very like uncomfortable in my own like
Mm,
dancing abilities because it was something I had just never done before. But I think by like the second year, so sophomore year, I felt comfortable
yeah.
like my place on the team, and like
Mm,
having done one comp season, like I felt much more settled in, and that's when I realized that this was kind of like what I was looking for my entire life in dance that I didn't get to experience because classical Chinese dance studios don't really have the whole like competition season. Like imagine like dance mom. Like it's not like that. Like we would just perform like once a year, and
Oh,
call it
okay.
raps. We never really competed, and if we did, we wouldn't really do it for competition's sake. We just go for funsies.
Okay.
Um, so just like being able to be on like a team, like that was
Yeah.
never a thing at my studio. It wasn't teams. It was just like, oh, you're this age or this level. Like
Mhm.
you just do this. Like, so that's why I would say I think, I mean, circling back to the whole people person extroverted thing, like I really enjoyed being on a team and like having like, my like best friends who I get to
Yeah.
dance with like almost every single day after school. So yeah, sophomore year was when I actually was like, I really like dance and like I finally found like I would look forward to it
Mm.
and then appreciate it a little bit more, if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. Um, right now, uh, what is your declared major and how did you get interested in that?
Ooh, oh, that's fun. But not really. My major right now is economics, and how I decided on it. Well, growing up, I was always a math girly, but then I realized once I took AP Calc BC that I was no longer a math girly, and that I didn't
Hmm.
really love that as much as I thought I would.
Yeah.
And I've never been really good at humanities either, so. I mean, one thing about me for the people listening who don't know who I am really, I'm a very like career driven person. So
Mm.
since high school, I've been thinking about like how do I make money out of college so
Yeah.
that I like can be self-sufficient. And
Yeah.
so that was like considering what am I good at and how can I leverage those skills to like make something out of my careers and
Yeah.
like something like that.
Yeah.
So I took econ my senior year of high school, and I always had a feeling that I would like econ because I thought it
Hmm.
had to kind of do with business, which was something that I felt like I was good at or had the skill set to be good in that industry. And so when I took like what was it, like microeconomics or
Hmm.
something, um, I felt like I was comfortable. I was like good at it and I found it interesting. And that
Hmm.
was the part I was looking for because most of the subjects I took, even if I got like an A in the class, I wasn't necessarily super invested or curious
Hmm.
about what we were learning beyond the classroom, if that makes sense. Like as long as I mastered the material, got an A, like 4.0 GPA, whatever, I was like happy and
Love it.
content. And that's where it ended. Whereas like econ, I was like, oh, like let me actually go read like more about this or I want to know more about like XYZ. And that's something I never really experienced in any of my classes other than maybe like statistics or like data
Mhm.
analysis, but I'm rambling.
No.
So that's when I knew that
Yeah.
that was what I wanted to apply to college for, like for sure.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, that's like kind of what I went into when it was like considering what college is and like, like all that stuff. So and I haven't changed it. I came in as econ and
That's
I've
a
stayed econ and I actually declared my major today. So the timing of this is impeccable.
congrats. No, that's a really good sign because you're going beyond the surface, whatever is being taught in class, right? Nerd.
I mean, it only happened for one subject. So I told myself when I came
Yeah.
to Northwestern, I had to make it work.
Yeah.
Like if I couldn't do econ here, oh my gosh, like I don't know what I would do. Like I would be in shambles.
You
I'm
be
just kidding.
fine. You be fine.
Hopefully.
What's what's a pivotal moment? You probably had several. What would you say is a pivotal moment in your life that shaped you as a person right now?
Oh my gosh, this is a good question. Pivotal moment. Oh, actually, this is a I have a good answer, I think. I think it's a good answer. Um, when my sister was born, actually, that kind of changed my perspective on a lot of things.
Mm, how so?
So for context, my parents divorced when I was in fourth grade. So I was like, I
Mm,
think 10 years old. And then my dad remarried, I
okay.
think when I was in eighth or ninth grade.
Mm,
I'm not exactly
dang.
sure. Hopefully they don't kill me for that. And then I have a half sister, but I removed the half. She's just my sister,
Yeah.
Evelyn. She's like 2.5 years old and like the cutest toddler ever. But it was a pivotal moment because I grew up as an only child. So I got everything. I didn't have to share. Like I could be as inconsiderate as I wanted. I'd still be the favorite child and also the least favorite child. So it didn't really matter. until this like cute little newborn popped into the world and I was like, "Oh my goodness, like how is this going to work?" And especially with the age gap too. I was
Mm,
really like just apprehensive at first, I guess.
yeah.
And also I was like younger back then when she was born too, and not
Mm,
hopefully not as mature as I am now. Anyway, so that kind of changed my perspective on things, on like how to interact with my family and like how to almost like conduct myself in a way that would be helpful rather than like,
mm,
you know, damaging, if that makes sense. Not
yeah.
that I was like
Yeah,
looking for
yeah, yeah, yeah,
trouble,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I have to be more considerate. Like there is this newborn in the house. Like I can't be staying up until 2 a.m. like watching YouTube or stuff like that on full volume. Like that's just not really, you know, ideal for anyone.
Yeah.
So that kind of really changed my perspective on that. It also changed my perspective on kids and the number of kids I want to have, which is really, really random to bring up. But like
So,
I always thought only child life was the way to go until I got a sibling and I was like, "Oh my gosh, like maybe it is better if you have like a sibling."
yeah, 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 yeah.
So I'm like grateful that I have a
Good.
sister now. I love her so much. She's so cute. Like when I go back to break, she's like one of my highlights. I get to like hold her and like like go out to eat with her, which is so fun. But yeah.
Now, being an only child has, but actually, it is not the business. It is
I
not the
thought
business.
it was, but then like people were like always telling me you're just missing out. Like you're just in denial, you're
Yeah,
lonely. Like and I was like,
yeah.
oh, I guess maybe I am. Like, but yeah.
That's awesome that your sister gave you permission to. I think, you always knew when to turn it on, but I think this is just like, you know what? This is just a benchmark, and let's just keep going up from here.
Yeah.
Um, whenever you encounter problems, what's your thought process? How do you deal with problems?
I run. I'm just kidding. Um, a lot of it is like in here most of the time, and that's what I realize is that I
Mm,
stress a lot about things that aren't as like you don't need to be stressing that much about.
yeah,
So for me, I like to plan my life until down to the second, actually, with Google Calendar, my best friend. Um, for me, I guess it's like if I encounter a problem, it's like figuring out like what is the current state,
mm,
and then also where do I want to be, if that makes sense. Like what's the end goal? Like yeah, right now it's not ideal, but like what are you look like what would I hope for,
mm,
or what outcome would I like to see from this situation, right? And like I think problems are like inevitable, and for me, I've been trying my best to see the positive
yeah,
in every single bit. I think when I was younger, problems were just an inconvenience, whereas now they're learning opportunities, as I have gaslit myself into thinking. But it actually does work.
yeah.
So yeah, kind of like laying out the starting point and the ending point, right? And then figuring out like trying to segment it into
Mm,
steps in between. It depends on what the problem really is and the scale scope of it,
yeah,
but I feel like taking time to just like sit down, like take 15 minutes to just like breathe, have a
mm,
snack, which sounds so cheesy, but like it
yeah,
helps to just
yeah.
like let all of this up here kind of like either come out through like writing or like typing or anything. It actually really helps. So
Mm.
that's just how I go about it, but might not work for everyone. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that. Having a strategy, having a goal in mind, right?
Yeah.
Having benchmarks. Um, what does, how does econ play into your future? Where do you see economics taking you?
That's a good question because my school doesn't have a business major. So like that's a huge reason why I'm economics, but also like I think Northwestern economics is like it's a great department. Like I've really enjoyed the classes so far, and I don't think they might necessarily be like the most tangible skills, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
like using like Excel or whatever it is, but the way you think from these classes and the way you solve problems is something that I have found really helpful, and like just to look at the world from, I don't know, like I guess macroeconomics, like a bigger, like upper level
Hmm.
scope, whereas micro is more like looking like closer into
Yeah.
each household, I guess. Um, I feel like the way of thinking and just like thinking critically and analyzing different situations is really beneficial for my future. As for like future plans career wise, I'm thinking about doing consulting right out of college. And there's like this joke about the Northwestern economics major to consulting pipeline, which is actually very, very true. And I am one of them, hopefully. But yeah, I think the way the classes challenge you to think about
Mm,
different problems and just really understand why the try to understand why the
yeah.
world works the way it does
Mm,
is like kind of a skill that is very helpful when it comes to consulting because that's
yeah.
basically just like problem solving and to really really
Yeah.
simplify it, like taking a business problem, figuring out what is the current context and like what different factors of the economy or like external factors are just like impacting it and like how we can like come up with
Mm.
solutions. So I don't know. I feel like that's just been my thought process for why econ would be helpful for my career. But yeah,
You made me want to study econ. I don't like econ. I didn't do well in econ. I just don't like the charts.
it's not it's not for everyone. I'm telling you,
It's a different
the
brain.
the
Hmm.
introduction courses here
Hmm.
are the weed out classes.
Okay.
And I can say this with full confidence. I have taken the 300 level courses that are the quote unquote weed outs.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no. 201 Introduction to Macroeconomics almost took me out here. It is the hardest economics class I have taken at Northwestern so far. And people say I'm crazy for saying it, but I stand by my statement that you just need to get over the initial learning curve and then onwards and upwards.
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Sorry. I think you triggered me because I was thinking that the econ class I took in undergrad weeded me out. I could have been a business major or econ major because I love money. I love making money. So I was like,
You could have gone into banking. I'm just kidding. That's
okay.
not great, but
So how
work-life balance doesn't exist there. So you're
true,
up.
true, 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 true. How, speaking of your intro to econ class, or this applies to whatever, I don't like to use the word failure, right? Maybe setbacks, stumbling blocks. How do you handle stumbling blocks? How do you turn them into stepping stones?
Mm, okay. Can I speak about like a different
Yeah, for sure.
class? Because I've had good experiences with econ so far,
Yeah.
but I'll share something that maybe I will regret putting out onto the internet or be ashamed of, but I feel like there's nothing to be ashamed of.
Mm,
So I felt like once again, cookie cutter, perfect, like high school, like 4.0, whatever, everything you could imagine, like
yeah.
good college, whatever. My first quarter here, I had like a 3.5 something
Mm,
GPA, and I was like in shambles about like my identity and like my worth and everything like that. Just because during high school I got so used to
yeah.
doing well. And so it was actually multivariable calculus course here that took me out, which sounds gross, but I had a high ego coming in because I took that course in high school. And I guess my ignorant self thought that college math would be the same as high school
Mm,
math, and it's definitely not the same. They're just like extra smart here. Um, and so yeah, first midterm got it back and I was like below like I was, there was the chart. I was like down there percentile wise, and that was not good. That was not a good sign. So I worked really hard. I
mm,
thought it was just like a fluke. I was like, oh, like
yeah.
first midterm, it's fine.
Mm,
Studied really hard. Second midterm, once again, was not doing well. And I like you said, don't like the word failure, but I felt like one.
yeah.
I
Mm,
felt
yeah.
like no matter what I did, it just like wasn't working. And I think that quarter it was really bad on the transcript, but it was really good in kind of helping me relearn how to like learn, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
I think after COVID, I got really, really lazy
Yeah.
actually, and I didn't know how to study. Like my senior year, I was
Yeah.
cruising by. I wasn't opening up textbooks, sorry to my teachers, and I
Yeah.
wasn't really like doing my homework. It was like present but not.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so because of I guess not doing so well,
Mm,
it made me realize that it's not like the course that's the problem. Honestly, it's like I just have to figure out how to go about it so that it helps me like get better, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, So yeah, that class really challenged me to reevaluate
Yeah.
my study habits and even just like my lifestyle habits, like
Yeah.
how I was, not really listening in class, but then like trying to catch up on the weekends and then
Mm,
catching up on the weekends turned into not really spending as much time on my social life here and like
yeah.
making more friends. And so I guess to turn that kind of situation to stepping stones, it was like, okay, like what have I tried so far and
Yeah.
why hasn't it worked? And what is like something else that I can try? It took trial and error, but I figured it out
Yeah.
by spring quarter, thankfully. Um, my mom's very happy about that one. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of like a situation where you get put into something you're not used to, and you're very, very unhappy or uncomfortable, but
Mm,
you kind of realize like, oh, there has to be a way
mm,
because,
yeah.
everyone is like able and capable.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out a way that you can do it. Because what works for me doesn't work for like every single other person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like the same goes, like the smartest kid in your class, the smartest, meaning
Yeah.
like the one who gets maybe the 100%, which
Yeah.
might not even be the smartest kid, their study habits might not even be the same as yours because maybe they don't need to study, if that makes sense. So I don't know. That was kind of just like a
Yeah.
situation where I was like, okay, like this is kind of eye-opening. Like we have a couple problems we need to address. And we did, so which is good. But
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I'm pretty sure every college student has experience. Most college students have experience. I experienced that.
Yeah.
Culture shock. Culture
But like
shock.
the thing that was hard for me was like, I mean, growing up in the Bay Area,
Yeah.
like especially in high school and
Mm,
like how competitive it is
yeah.
with like everyone wants to be in the top 5% and like everyone wants to have the highest GPA and go to the best college. Like it took a lot. It kind of like,
Yeah.
you're on the high horse or whatever
Yeah.
the saying is, and I felt like I just got like, oh, like they just like kicked me right off and I was in the dirt. And so, and I felt embarrassed
Mm,
for a hot second. Like I didn't want to tell anyone
yeah.
because I felt like once again I didn't want to ruin like the picture perfect image of
Mm,
like being smart or like successful or stuff like that.
yeah.
And at my time, like that's so stupid because like as long as you're learning, that's like something to be grateful and happy about. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
No, that's what
My
matters.
thoughts.
Authentic learning is what matters. And people, you just have
Yeah.
to figure that out on your own, you know?
Takes
Um,
time for sure to figure that out.
oh
But
man. Um, what advice would you give to people preparing to, if they want to do economics? What would, if you knew that econ was going to be your shtick, how would you have told younger Mia, like, hey, this is how you better prepare?
for college
E
economics,
yeah, college economics.
okay, this might really be a hot take, but like I think people just need to like chill out a little bit and enjoy high school. And I know a lot of parents and kids are gonna come for me for that one, but like I only took one econ course in high school for half a year. I really don't think that was so like instrumental in my success here as an econ major at all, honestly speaking. And a lot of kids in college have never taken an econ course, and their first one is here.
Mm,
Um, I guess like if they really want to prepare, then I would honestly say, like, don't even pull out the econ textbooks, like, pull up Wall Street Journal. I know it's annoying, but like
no,
reading
no,
the
yeah,
news is actually really important. And I hated it. I was in denial until I realized that, like, oh, like maybe it's actually good to know what's going on in the world and not living under a rock. So that's one thing that I learned in college. But yeah, I wouldn't even say like opening like those stupid like bear sorry, those
no,
AB review books or anything like that. Like honestly, just like
yeah,
go on a website, New York Times, anything, a credible source, of course. But like just reading what's going on. It doesn't have to be about like the stock market or whatever.
yeah,
Like find an industry that you're passionate about. Like I like reading about retail or sports
yeah,
and entertainment. Like that's nothing to do with like investment or
yeah,
anything, but like still reading about what's going on in the world has been like really helpful. And once again, it's a way of thinking. It's not necessarily like what exactly you know, but how you think and like kind of not training your brain to think
Mhm.
that way, but like
Mhm.
opening it up to, new perspectives and stuff like that is actually really helpful. And like, I don't know, I think a lot of courses, economic courses are very different depending on who teaches it and stuff like that. So I don't know. That's just my take though. I don't know if people are gonna enjoy that answer, but that's
No,
what I would
that's
recommend.
really insightful. No, I was just imagining, man, wonder if sophomore Mia could hear this Mia now. Like, would she call
Oh
would she call would she call older Mia like a square? Like
I don't even know. Like, I think my sassy younger self would have been like, "You're wrong. Like, you don't know what you're saying. Like, you're just old or something." I don't know. I know. I felt like I've aged a lot since coming
the
here, actually.
wisdom that's coming out of your mouth. You're just dropping bars. I'm like, man,
Really?
dude.
Okay. Well, I guess that's a good thing, right?
It is. It is. So you touched upon it. So how are you balancing your studies, your
Mm.
personal life, and now your job?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm not sure about the job part, but I'll give you a before and after. Okay. So
Mm,
when I started college, I would go to my classes, but I'd just be going to them for the sake of going to them, like I did in high school. Okay. And then on the weekends, that's when I'm like, oh, I have like 24 hours for 2 days to like figure my life out and almost like catch up, like make up the work that I missed the week before. And that was not great. It didn't work out well. So what I shifted to actually was I have this fake concept of protected weekends for myself now, where I work not really, really hard, but I
yeah,
make my best effort to structure out my time and build a schedule for myself during the weekdays
okay.
where I have times for, like relax. Like I'll block in, I'm a Warriors fan. I'll block in the Warriors games and
Mhm,
that's when I'll just do nothing. And like I'll either like walk on a treadmill, like so I'm like 2 and 1, like
yeah,
watching the game and like exercising, stuff like that. I'll block it out because
mhm,
you need time for breaks.
yeah,
I'll block in when my classes are, and I'll even block in like when I have time for a meal
mhm,
or when I want to study. And it actually really helps me like visualizing. So I use Google Calendar. I
yeah,
visualizing my schedule
mhm,
and like it makes me very happy and like I feel like I have structure in my life, which is something I lacked before. Um, so that's what I do on the weekdays. And because I can visualize and like it motivates me actually when I can see it to get my work done, I have my protected weekends.
yeah,
Basically like Friday afternoon, evening, all the way until Sunday night. I don't usually work unless if it's like a huge project or like a midterm or like I have like something to do for a client, then of course I'll be like active and
yeah,
like responsive, but I just like shifted my schedule to the point where I just like don't really do much on the weekends other than like academically, if
yeah,
that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it's worked. Like, preparing for classes rather than catching up
yeah,
actually helps. My
yes,
mom wasn't lying when she said that. But yeah, so what I do now, like during the weekends, like I've been going to like Chicago every single weekend and people
okay,
think I'm crazy for it, but like it works. And like I didn't go, like, that much my freshman year, and it's shocking how I
mm,
didn't now when I think about it now,
yeah,
but yeah, I'll go there, I'll try a new restaurant every single week or something like that, but yeah.
that's awesome. That's sage advice. You're too, your soul got too old, bro.
Right? That's what I was thinking, like, I told my mom when I came back, like, this past break, I'm like, "I really think I aged," and she laughed at me, and I was like, "No, but, like, actually, like, I'm saying the same stuff that you said 10 years ago, so that means I have aged, like, but I don't
Well,
know.
no, going into adulthood, Lord willing, having a family, that's advice that I tell my former students, my mentees, which is like, go to work, but do not bring your work home. When
Mm,
you're home, be home. Make
right.
your house needs to be a home. Your family members don't need you to be in work mode. Um,
Yeah.
you need to bring peace to your loved ones, and that's not fair, right? So
Mhm.
this is good practice. This is great practice. Wow.
No. We'll see how work fits into all of it, though. I gave up my protected weekends, now they're just protected Saturdays,
Yeah,
but
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
I think
Well,
you're just touching the edges of boundaries, and that's what you're supposed to do. And I think I mentioned this before. High school, like you said, actually, high school. ought to be the best time of your life. College ought to be the best time of your life. You ought to enjoy it. What's a book, any book throughout your life, that has significantly influenced you?
Oh, that's hard because I hated reading growing up. I know. But I mean, it's just it was never really
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
I got into. Um, I guess this last summer I
Mm,
tried to get into reading a little bit. I read this one book. I think it's called The Seven Husbands of
mm.
Evelyn Hugo. Don't kill me, I forgot the author's name.
It's all good.
But I read it because TikTok recommended it. Um,
Hey,
I'm gonna be so honest. Like I was like on Book Talk or whatever it's called, and I impulse purchased like 8 books during Prime Day. But out of the ones I read, most of them were like soapy, like romance ones, so I won't get into it. But this one was like
okay.
really, really interesting. I don't want to spoil any part
Yeah,
of it.
yeah,
But it kind of reminded me a lot of like just nowadays it's really easy to see someone like on social media who's like, like has their life together, everything looks perfect and like,
yeah,
even if they have like some scandal attached to their name, like it's nothing that deep, like it's
yeah.
just it adds to their like, storyline and like character or whatever.
Mhm.
But then there are certain parts of their identity that you really don't know unless if they're willing to share that with you
Yep.
or you have an intimate relationship with them where that's like something that you can find out and like
Wow.
you would never
Yep.
be able to tell just based off of either social media or even in person.
Yep.
And I thought about it a lot like I'll just say high school because like that's where I guess I met you, but like you see a lot of different people and like
Yeah.
you think you know who they are and like their life story, you have no
Yep.
idea. And there are so many parts, like even things about me. I think I
Mm,
have like little secrets of me that only few people know, but
yeah.
um you can't really tell based off the glamour and the glitz of their life and what
Yeah.
they put out there and what people report about their lives.
Hmm.
So I don't know, that book like there's like a good twist at the end too, I believe, but I really enjoyed reading it. I read it in one sitting actually. So
Oh.
that's when
o-
you know
Oh.
it's
Okay.
pretty good is when I can sit for an extended period of time and read.
Okay.
So, yeah, I don't
Right.
know. I like that book a lot. So,
Right. So now I have a benchmark. I need to write a book that you could sit down, that Mia could sit down in one sitting and read from
and
beginning to
that's
end.
when you know it's a good book because getting me to sit still, first of all, is so hard. Like you probably can tell I have the
Yeah.
blurred background, but
Yeah.
I've been shifting back and forth
Yeah.
this entire time. Uh, but yeah, you
Um,
can do it. I'd give it a read.
all right. All right. Challenge accepted. Now, success. How do you define success? Especially with a project or a paper, like how do you learn to let go? How do you say enough is enough instead of like sticking with sticking to it way too long?
Like when to know that it's reached the most, like
Mhm.
you got the most out of it that you
Yeah.
could. Oh, it's kind of like a gut feeling. Like I think
Mm,
I live in denial a lot of the times where I'm like, no, 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 like everything's fine. And like you know this about me. I'm a
yeah.
people pleaser.
Yeah.
I have a really hard time saying no.
Mm,
Um, but I think deep down, like people know when the time is
mm,
kind of up, and maybe that's just me generalizing it.
yeah.
But I've had many times where I write a paper and I look at it and I'm like, okay, like I'll take a break and I'll take a look at it tomorrow and I'll read it the next day, which is important. You guys should do that. It's a good tip actually, because you don't, wrote some heinous things on there that I can't can't turn it. But there comes a point where you look at it and you're like, I don't even really know what I could do to make it better.
Mm, yeah.
And that's when I'm like, I'm done. Like this is, and when you're like, you don't necessarily have to be happy with your work, but when you feel like it represents something that you can do
Yeah.
or something that is like representative of who you are, that's when I think it's fine to like not call it quits, but like, put a little stopper in whatever's going on. For like projects. Yeah, I've had many like projects. I'm in like this consulting club here
Hmm.
at Northwestern and like every quarter we have a client and a project.
Okay.
And so there are like strict endpoints for time, which is the end of the quarter. But there are many times where before even like the final client presentation, like you'll take a look at the work that you've done and you either feel like it's not good enough in the sense that you didn't
Mm,
think you did your best work or didn't put the most effort or maybe missed something. And that's when you know it's time to kind of like seek support from either, people who are like leaders or have experience, stuff like that. Or if you feel happy, then like you should be happy and like be proud of like what you did, if that makes sense.
yeah.
I don't know if I answered your
No, no,
question
no, no. Yeah.
correctly.
I think that's on point too. And I think
Okay.
that's a good measure. Well, you started talking about it in the beginning too. Uh when is something done? Well, what is your deadline? Like you said, what's your endpoint? What's the deadline? Have
Most
that
of the
on your
time there
calendar.
is a deadline and it's
Yeah.
Canvas telling me 11:59 p.m. I gotta turn it in.
Um, I have to ask this since you are in the real world now. Um,
Yes.
how does ChatGPT AI play?
Oh, okay, this is interesting. I love using it to generate ideas,
Hmm.
but I hate the way it like writes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you don't use it.
Like it's really bad. And like I've tried like trust me, I've tried the shortcut of like write me a 3-page paper about insert copy paste prompt from the source insert and even like taking whatever they write and then trying to like just like rephrase it. Oh my gosh,
Mhm.
it's awful. Um and I know you're like cringing right now by what I say for me
No,
even
no, 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 no,
attempting to
no.
do that.
No,
Um
no, not at you. No,
but
I just know I've seen the work it produces. That's why. Yeah.
okay, yeah. It's I'm sorry, but like if you were doing that, like I hope like just best of luck to you. Best of luck because like it doesn't take a genius to spot something that's paraphrased of a, AI generated
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
Um but yeah, I really like it for ideas. Sometimes like I get
yeah.
writer's block or I don't even know
Yeah,
where to start.
yeah, yeah,
Like I mentioned before, humanities is not my thing. Like
yeah,
it's never been something I've been really good at. And
yeah.
um I don't sometimes I just like stare at the Google Doc or the Word doc and it's
Mhm.
just like, the blinker. And I'm like,
Yeah, yeah.
I have no idea and I just need something. So
Mhm.
what I found really helpful is using them to like using LLMs to like generate ideas and then I
Mhm.
look at them, I'm like, okay, which ones like actually make sense from what
Yeah.
I've learned and like what can I use? And then I create the outline
Yeah.
from ideas that it generated and like
Mhm.
sometimes just reading through their ideas helps you think of your own that might be even better. That's what I've noticed. So that's kind of how I found ChatGPT and like stuff like that to be the most useful to my life. I actually took a writing in business course last quarter,
Okay.
and our professor encouraged us to
Yeah.
use LLMs to
Mhm.
help enhance our work, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
Like, the
Yeah, for
point
sure.
of the assignment was to like, I think she would say like, oh, you could either use a human like peer reviewer or you could use the LLM. And she
Mhm.
would have us put our work into ChatGPT, create prompts, and ask it to provide feedback. And sometimes it would give good feedback, but half of the times
Mhm.
it would just like rewrite my paper. And I'm like, I'm not trying to have you rewrite my paper. I want you to tell me what's wrong with it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
tell
yeah.
me where I can improve rather than just like doing it yourself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that good anyway. But so yeah, that's kind of just like my thoughts.
Yeah.
A lot of the teachers and sorry, professors here
Mhm.
have actually gone back to doing handwritten in class midterms because of ChatGPT. And that has kind of made me upset because I am not one to write a 3-page
Yeah, yeah.
paper in 50 minutes for you. But I completely understand why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting how like they're trying to take steps forward, but then at the same time, it almost feels like we're going back
Backwards.
because it was
100%.
giving like standardized testing when I had to write on paper for my midterms last quarter. Yeah. So I don't know.
Um, how are you staying motivated and focused?
Money. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
No, hey, hey,
Um,
money is
I
not
think
evil. Loving
uh,
money too much is
uh,
evil.
sorry, the unfiltered thoughts are coming through. It's 10 p.m. So here's the truth. I'm just kidding. I think I always dreamed of having a very stable future. I
Yeah.
mean, we've talked about it before, like
Mm,
me wanting to have my whole life planned out,
yeah.
like not exactly knowing where I want to be and stuff like that, but just knowing that I have like a successful
Yeah.
career, and, like
Yeah.
family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of it's almost like a dream, and like I
Mm,
say it's a dream because I don't think it's ever truly attainable to the level of perfection that everyone might hope for it to be.
mm,
But that's kind of keeping me motivated, like
mm.
wanting to, be able to self-sustain
Yeah.
after college. Like I'm very grateful. My parents are super supportive of me,
Yeah.
and like I'm gonna be so real. I wouldn't be at Northwestern if I didn't have their help,
Yeah.
like emotionally, financially, like
Mm,
all of it. Like they're keeping me well fed, quite
yeah.
literally. But I also have like a sense of like independence where college is where I draw the line.
Yeah.
Like, and like I'm so grateful for all of it, but like I really just want to like try myself or like be like
Mm,
an actual adult. Like
yeah.
I know they say you're an adult in college, but I don't believe it until you're actually contributing to a retirement fund or like stuff like that. Like that's when you're an adult. When your paycheck gets like in half my taxes and then by your okay, I'm rambling, but
No, no,
you get
you
my point,
sound
right?
old. Sound old.
But like
Yeah.
that's kind of like what's keeping me going is like
Yeah.
one, like wanting to self-sustain,
Yeah.
two, wanting to give back to my parents
Yeah.
and my
Amen.
family. Like
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like they've done so much for me. The least I could
Mm,
do is like make the effort to like give back a little bit of hopefully
yeah.
what is success in the
Yeah.
future to them.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that's a dream. I think it's a goal. Be nicer to
I
yourself.
have
Be
to
more
make it
gentle. Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
I hope.
A dream, you make it sound like it's so elusive. It's not. Um,
We'll see.
what's a misconception people had about you in high school?
Ooh, that I had it all figured out.
Mm,
I think people in my own grade and my close friends knew that my life was actually like not perfect
yeah.
in the slightest. Like there was a lot of drama in high school, and like I
Mm,
guess that just comes with being involved in a lot of different things.
yeah.
But like I'm not saying like younger students idolize me or anything like
Yeah.
that, but I've had many, like when I was a senior, many underclassmen come up to me and even their parents being like, "Oh, like you are like perfect. Like
Mm,
you are my child's role model." And like that's like great to hear and stuff like that, but like that's only because you know what's on paper. Like dance like team captain, like
yeah.
ASB president, like
Yeah.
top 5%,
Mm,
like whatever, like the like yeah, sure, maybe, but like there was a lot more to just what the titles were.
yeah.
I think the experiences of them were very different from what you just saw from the surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
misconception was that I had my life together.
Yeah.
I kind of did, but at the same time, I didn't. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would say the misconception is like they didn't understand you had a soul. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess like I don't know. I think one thing that really like
Mm,
struck me the wrong way was when I applied for colleges, and
mm,
I did early decision to Northwestern. Like
okay.
I had a top four. It was Northwestern, USC, UCLA,
Mm,
and UBC, which is British Columbia
yeah.
in Canada, because it would be like 5K a year, which is oh my gosh, crazy. Um, but yeah, like of the four, it was strategic. Okay. I was like, Northwestern lowest acceptance rate, like we're just gonna go for it. And when I got in, people were like, congrats, but why didn't you apply for Stanford?
Mm,
And I was like, hello, like maybe because I don't want to go there, maybe
yeah.
because I like the kids here more and the culture more, and
Yeah.
like there's more to me as a person and my personality
Yeah.
that doesn't maybe align with one school more than the other just by what you think my stats and like all that
Mm,
stuff want me to get into. I don't know. This is maybe just like my Bay Area like trauma carrying over into this right now, but yeah, that I was like, guys, like I'm more than just like a sheet of paper. Like
yeah. Amen.
I have a personality, like I think. So yeah.
Yeah. And I love it that you're at a place with all four seasons.
Oh, well, hell yeah. It's like so cool. My mom, okay, so random, but my
Mm,
mom actually is in the Facebook chat
uh-huh.
or like for like parents at Northwestern. She sent me like this post that some parent like just uploaded
Mm,
because there's some storm tomorrow apparently and they're trying to cancel classes. Like they're never gonna do that. Okay, it's Chicago. It's called Penguin Walk. She sent me a visual of a penguin and then gave me 15 bullet points on how to walk like a penguin so I wouldn't fall tomorrow. Sorry, I just had to like get that off my chest because it was the most ridiculous thing I saw all day and I almost lost it. But
until you have to do it.
yeah, I know. I actually considered trying it because like I'm not trying to fall tomorrow. That's too much. That's too embarrassing. I can't do that.
How do you handle criticism or disagreement?
Mm, I kind of have to tell myself it's not that deep.
Mm,
I learned that in college. You may remember, but like senior year of high school, I was like very bad with conflict, like very, very bad at handling it.
yeah.
Like I thought it was my way or the highway. Like it
No.
was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now I just kind of have to like put it in the big like perspective, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
lot of times what I'm disagreeing about is something so minor, it doesn't impact anyone other than like maybe my own ego a little bit.
Mm,
And it takes a lot to kind of recognize that and be like, oh, like this isn't that big of a deal. Like this is just me wanting to be right versus
yeah.
like acknowledging like when when you are wrong or if you feel like you're right, finding a way to like communicate that with someone that isn't very aggressive, hostile, or in a way that makes it seem like you still think you're right. You know, if that makes
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
sense. Like, um, so yeah, that's something I had to learn is like when it comes to criticism, I see it once again, learning opportunity. And I know I laugh when I say it, but actually like it helps a lot. Like a lot of people give you criticism most of the time, at least since I've experienced, is to help you become better
Yeah.
rather than to actually tear you down. Of course, there's always going to be people out there who are going to criticize you, but then they're just your fans. You're the main character,
Yeah.
okay? That's what I tell myself. But yeah, a lot of times you kind of have to like once again take a step back and like kind of think about what like be introspective. Think about like what they're really saying and how that might apply to you and like maybe they're right or maybe
Yeah.
there's bits of what they're saying that can apply and you can try at least. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't work, then so be it. Like you don't have
Yeah.
to listen to all criticism, but that's just something I realize is that not everyone's out here against me. Like not everyone's trying to tear me down. And then maybe that's just the environment I grew up in.
Yeah.
But I had to kind of come to terms with the fact that like some people genuinely are just
Yeah.
here for you and like are looking out for your best interest and want you to grow, but they're challenging you when you're doing it. And I think even like terms of disagreement too, like you can learn a lot about yourself and like other people
Mm,
when it comes to solving those disagreements and how you talk to each other and how you treat each other, I guess, during that process. I don't know. And like people are different. Sometimes when you disagree with one person, how to resolve that is very different from how you disagree with another person and how you
mm.
resolve that because everyone's very different. It's not a once again cookie cutter way of doing it. Um, so yeah. Is that answering your question?
You're answering every question. So
Really?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I was like sick earlier this week, so my bedtime was
Oh,
like 8 p.m. So
okay.
I'm getting back into it. This is
All right.
good. This is
For
good.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. What's something that excites you right now?
Chicago. I love Chicago so much.
Oh, wow.
I know it's really bad actually. Like I would I'm I guess like to be more
Mm,
specific, Chicago Restaurant Week is coming up soon. It's not actually 1 week I learned, guys. It's like 2 to 3 and like I claim I'm not a foodie, but I think I actually slowly am becoming one. Um no, but it's just exciting
yeah.
because it's far enough from campus but close enough if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like it makes it feel like you're putting the effort out there to like try something new and like it's a journey in a sense of being far enough, but it's close enough where it's feasible for you to go. Um, but yeah, I love trying like a new restaurant every week just because like I grew up basically in the same area my
Mhm.
entire
Yeah,
life. And there's so much of the world here that I haven't seen yet. And it's very, very different. Like there's
yeah.
actually stuff to do here other than go to the mall and the beach for the 50th time. Um, there's a bean here, which is under construction, but still great nonetheless. But
How
yeah, I
many
think
people are in Chicago? Well, do you know what the population is?
I know.
Okay. Yeah, just curious.
I know.
Okay. What were you saying? What were you saying after the being
No,
under
no,
construction?
no. I actually don't. I'm so sorry. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just feel like going to a new restaurant, there's something
Yeah.
new you can learn every time. My favorite thing actually is to talk to like the waiters and waitresses and stuff like that, which sounds really weird, but
No, no.
like I don't know. They probably think I'm really strange. I'm like, "Oh, like what do you recommend here? Like you can just surprise me with whatever." And like they always look so shocked when I say that, but I'm like, "Wait, like trust me, like I just
No.
want to like be surprised."
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
anyways, that's just, I guess, a silly answer for you.
That
Um,
is not silly. Don't be dismissive of yourself. That's as much as I'm an introvert, that's why I love when I go back to Korea. And Seoul is 15 million people. And so for an
right.
introvert, I like you would think I shrink, but I'm just like in awe. I
But
think I
you're in
love hmm?
best life. You're living your best life
Yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah, 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 yeah. So that's the vibe I get when you all of a sudden you're like, Chicago.
I know. Like I'm just a small human little being, but like
Yeah.
I just like sometimes frolic the streets and like people think I'm crazy for it, but I just love it.
In
And
comparison to San Jose, where everything's or that's the area where everything's spread apart and
yeah,
everything.
I will literally just like sit by the river and I'll be like, this is amazing. Like my life is so good if you think about it. Like I'm actually so privileged and so lucky. So yeah.
Um, how do you approach learning something new? Especially like a new course that's not in your like maybe GE course, something that's completely off the
Oh,
wall.
oh my gosh, it's hard. Like I'm taking Buddhist psychology
Oh,
right now,
they're perfect.
and we
Uh,
spent half a class meditating, which is like kind of why I took it. Um, approaching something, learning something new. I guess like once again, kind of circling back to like what do I want to get out of it? Like I
yeah.
think learning something new is very hard. Like I'm once again very scared of embarrassing myself.
Mm,
I want it. I'm still unfortunately stuck in the whole
yeah.
loop of like wanting to look like I have it all together. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
that's just me.
Yeah.
So kind of trying to figure out like what I hope to take away from all of it. And I know
Mm,
I'm going in circles saying that over and
no.
over today. But yeah, I don't know. For me, like taking this class, I know I took it because it was like, yay, meditation for like 30 minutes. But it's also something like realizing the value of trying something different.
Mm,
And I know that sounds like really basic and general, maybe, but I just feel like, okay, I'll give you another example. Sorry, I'm rambling.
no, no.
But I'm a very like econ business like
Mm,
kid and like I spend most of my time seeing the same faces. I love them. Same econ kids, same business kids. I'm also taking a gender studies class and when I walked into the class this quarter, I actually sent my friend a text. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't realize how like stuck I was in the econ business bubble until I walked into this gender studies class." And I know that sounds really crazy, but it's just like it was so nice. Like it was
yeah.
so diverse, if that makes any sense. And I was like, what's the value? Like I felt uncomfortable actually. Because it wasn't like up my alley of like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
working supply and demand and
yeah.
like stuff like that. I was like, oh, like I actually don't know anything about like gender studies. And I'm like really scared to be here because I don't want to say something wrong or I
Mm,
don't want to like seem like, I don't know, like uninterested or anything like that. And I was like, okay, well, it's good that I'm here, actually,
yeah.
because first of all, if I didn't take it, then I would still be stuck in this little
Mm,
bubble of
yeah.
my econ business, whatever. And I was like, okay, what can I take away? Well, learning something different.
Yeah.
Actually, like learning more, I guess, about a topic that I never thought I would study or anything like that. So
Look at you
I don't know.
pushing boundaries. I love that. Just it's
Ah,
exciting.
trying.
It's exciting.
It's scary though, but like
Yeah.
I do encourage people to do it. I mean, maybe I'm doing it because I needed to graduate, but at the same time, I'm still doing it. So was that too honest?
No, 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 no. What's a question you wish people would ask themselves more often?
Mm, biggest? Oh my gosh, you're like really picking at my brain today. Wait, so we're big. Sorry, biggest question
Or
or wait,
a
words?
a question
Oh
you
my
what?
gosh.
It's okay. What's a question you wish people would ask themselves more often?
I think who's your favorite person and why? What about that person makes you feel so drawn to them? Or like why like just like why you like them so much?
Yeah,
I think we meet so many different people. Well, maybe I'm saying that because I'm a people person, but like
yeah,
even still, like even as an introvert, I feel like you meet
yeah.
so many different people in this world, and naturally you click with some and you don't with others. But of those that you click with, like you're gonna have a few favorites, right? But like if you had to pick one favorite, who would it be? And also like what about that person is so special? And I don't mean that in like a condescending way at all, like
No, no,
why
no,
is it
no, no,
special, but
no.
like I want to know, like, is it a certain part of their personalities, the way they treat you? Is it their
Mm,
interests that align with yours, or do they just make you feel like happy or something like that? Like, I that's just something that I think is really interesting. So I don't know,
that is interesting. You almost judo flipped it on me, and I almost answered that question. Um,
but you won't, not for the podcast.
you know what? This will be the first time ever that I'm answering someone's question.
Guys, we did
Um,
it.
um, Surprising thing is, I think I have an answer. Um, I had an answer right away as soon as you asked it. I would say,
Oh.
for me, my favorite people or the persons that I click with are people you could say that are opposite of me. It's not like opposites attract. It's not that, but they complement,
Yeah,
and we strengthen each other. And so it always creates an interesting dynamic. I will say your personality, like I just see the people I click with. My best friend growing up in high school, um, we are complete opposites, but when we are together, it was like we are an undeniable force.
like
And
you were like this.
yeah, 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 yeah. And people are like,
Yeah,
how'd they get along? But either way, we don't want to mess with that. If there's like
right.
something,
Like it works. It works. You don't ask questions, but you just
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yeah.
um, how do you see yourself impacting society or your community in the future?
Oh. Guys, the questions are getting harder. Um, guess like I don't see myself or I can't right now envision myself
Mhm,
making like a super like global impact or anything like that.
mm,
But kind of like it sounds really corny, but I want to be the friendly neighbor.
mhm. Yeah.
Like I actually like I didn't know really any of my neighbors growing up.
Mm,
Like maybe that has to do with like, my parents like coming from, a different country and all of
yeah.
that. But I like maybe that's like creepy too of me, but I genuinely kind of want to like build relationships with the people that I live around, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. And like maybe like neighborhood meetings and all that is like a reach or something like that. But getting to know like their backstory and like just
Yeah.
like being able to support each other. Because I don't know. Wait, maybe like that's weird now that I think about it. But
No, that's
I
not
just
at
think
all.
that'd be something really cool. Like I don't think impact always has to be like the
Yeah.
most like grand thing ever. Like I feel like having like someone who cares about you, but you
Yeah.
might not know that much about, like, is something that seems really cool to me. And like
Yeah.
I would want the same kind of like, like care and support
Yeah.
for each other. So that's just something I can envision myself
Yeah.
actually doing. You know what I mean? If we're being like reasonable here, like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's something I feel like is very well within my like control and
Mhm.
ability to do. And that's something I can see myself doing in the future. Like if I have to bake cookies and
Yeah.
figure it out, like I will do it. But that's just kind of where my head's at right now.
Yeah. No, that's a wonderful answer. I feel like that's those memories are everything, right? Um, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You'll be surprised, quote unquote, what strangers or even friends, if you get an intimate conversation, what comes out.
right?
Yeah,
It's so interesting.
yeah.
I love it. I don't know. The whole neighborhood thing actually, like with one of your other guests on your podcast, they seem to know like everything about their neighbors. And when I saw that, I was like, that's when it made me realize
Mm,
that I wish I knew more, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
All right. What's a dream or goal you're working towards besides graduating?
Ooh, dream or goal? I want to buy a house for both of my parents, like separately, like retirement homes. And I know that sounds like really crazy, and people are gonna say, "Oh, this girl's all about money," but like, I'm like, I want them to like be able to just like relax and like
Yeah,
they've worked so hard already. Like now
yeah,
it's my turn. You know what I mean? Like it's my turn to work hard. So, I mean, my mom claims she already bought her like retirement apartment in like Vancouver or whatever, but I don't care. Like
yeah.
I'll buy her a vacation home if necessary. Like
There you
she
go.
can spend half of the year in Vancouver freezing her little booty off and then she could go to like, I don't know, tropical place. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of like that's a dream. It's a goal for
That's a
sure,
goal.
but
That's a goal. That's a goal. You got
I
it.
think I can do it if I work really, really hard. I actually think I could do it. So
I think you can too.
yeah. She will, if this comes out though, I'm sure my parents will hold this against me. Like I'll be like 30 and be like, hey, like remember when you did the podcast?
Yeah,
Like,
they're like, yeah, here's the
where's my
receipt.
home?
Here's the receipt.
Yeah. Maybe don't release. I'm just kidding.
Uh, all right. We are down to last four questions.
Oh my gosh. I've already been sweating this whole
I
time.
can't tell. I can't tell.
Really? Okay, that's good. That's good.
Um, what is anxiety?
Oh, for me, or do you want me to generalize it? Just open-ended.
Mhm.
Um, I would say like a feel of loss of control
Mm,
is a way that I would use to describe it, at least how it um pertains to me. Like feeling like you have like when I don't have 100% control, I think that's when I feel anxious. And that's when I'll have like anxieties when I just don't know exactly how everything's gonna course out.
mm,
Um, which sounds ridiculous when you're in like, a stable mental state where you're like,
yeah,
being rational and you're like, of course you can't have control over everything.
yeah,
But there are times where I'm like, I feel like I need to have every single tiny little thing in line. And when I don't, if one thing is out of line, I feel like my entire self is just gonna like either shrivel up like a raisin or combust. There's no like in between. But yeah, I think anxiety is like really tough, and I think everyone has to deal with it to different like degrees. And it depends a lot on like how you deal with it, I guess. But once again, for everyone it is different. Um, so yeah, that's a really tough question. But yeah, loss of control is kind of how I see it, but then like it takes time kind of to recognize that it's impossible to always
yeah.
know what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um, but
Um,
yeah.
well, I usually don't respond, but I will respond. And
Okay.
shout out to Mia. When I was going, we came back to school, her senior year. I had a bout of grief, and despite what you're going through, she got me this
Oh my
plushie.
God.
I don't know if it was to borrow, but I took it. So
No, yeah,
yeah,
fully take it.
and I carried it, throughout the day, and it helped. Like it just helped. Just a little bit counts, and so I'm grateful. Um, so even when you're anxious, being able to see someone else when they're dealing with loss of control, that's that's really that makes you a hero. So thank you, Mia.
Oh,
Um, next question though,
is it gonna get harder? Oh my gosh.
what is
Okay. We
ready?
got it. We got it.
What is love? It could be platonic or romantic, but I mean,
Oh my gosh. Mm, I think I think for me it's like being able to care about, it doesn't have to be like a person or anything, but something that you do, any kind of thing out there, being able to accept it for what it is with your whole body and entity in a way.
Mm,
Um, I don't think it necessarily just has to be like the more extreme version of liking something. I think loving something is understanding that like whatever it is, like all the pros and cons and like bits and pieces, um, I think love kind of accepts all of it, if that makes sense. And it kind of transcends like all of the whole not sure, like all of that. I don't know how to explain. Oh my gosh. Um, but yeah, that's kind of how I see it. Like I know people say there's like the difference between love and liking something. Like there was someone in my life who always told me like they love everyone, but they only like certain people. I never understood it. Never understood it.
mm.
I still don't really. But yeah, I think love is like I'm just going in circles.
No.
This is really hard. But yeah, like when I think about the things that I love or like the people I love and stuff like that is like I heard it somewhere, but it's like
Mm,
you like them for all these reasons, but you love them despite XYZ, and that stuck with me because it's like you there are many like positive traits to everyone, but there are also a lot of, shortcomings and like things that people can work on. But the people who you love, I guess, I'll just take people for example, like you're there for them,
yeah,
even
yeah,
with all of those things that you think they could work on or they know they need to work on or like you just don't like
yeah.
something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. I call it loving someone as is.
Yeah, that's a good way
Yeah,
to put it.
yeah,
Like you're not trying to change them or anything.
no,
Like whatever they like, the state doesn't matter what state they're in.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
there for them, like
yeah,
regardless. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like you shouldn't
yeah,
love someone only when they're the state that you want to see
yeah,
them in, if that makes
yeah.
sense.
And going back to, so my mom used to take me window shopping, but sometimes we buy stuff, and when we buy stuff on sale, this is in Korea in the markets, and we'd
Oh.
haggle. But usually the stuff that's on sale or on clearance, the person will tell you, well, this has this, right? Or this is used, or this is this. This is as is. Would you accept it? And so that's my approach when I see people. Like, we don't know their entire backstory, and
Hmm.
no one's perfect, but just that's what love is. Just like, will you accept them as is? So that's what you said. So, or
Oh.
that's what I heard.
Guys,
It's not a
I'm
test.
trying my best. I'm trying my best here.
All right, two more questions. One last uh deep one.
Okay, one last deep one, and
Yeah,
then okay, okay,
and then the exit one. All right,
got it. Exit interview, exit survey.
all right,
Sorry.
Leah.
Okay.
No apology.
I
Ready?
laugh when I'm uncomfortable, but it's a good
It's okay.
thing. It's a
And
good
I'm
thing.
I'm I'm triggering you because I'm trying to make this suspenseful. What is the meaning of life?
Oh, I kind of guessed this one was coming, but I wasn't 100% sure. Uh, I think, oh gosh, something fulfilling to your own standards. You're like, I'm all about like feeling and like how you feel. Like, I genuinely believe people know
Mm,
or can feel maybe a little bit at least what is right and wrong. And some people might disagree with that, but I really think like life isn't, once again, I've said cookie cutter. Let's do a count, like maybe like 10 times I said cookie cutter, but like I don't think there's a certain way to go about it
yeah.
at all.
Mm,
Every single person is different, and
yeah.
every single person's journey is different. And there's like, and they like bump into each other, if that makes sense. Like our
Yeah.
interactions in life, that's when things happen, challenges occur, happiness happens, like events. But I really think is like life is learning how to take those moments where you know, intersect with other people
Yeah.
and turn them into something that feels fulfilling to you. And it doesn't always have to mean that you're like the happiest person in the world or
Yeah.
anything like that. But I think like over the courses of everything we've talked about in the last, I want to say, hour
Yeah.
is just chatting kind of about how to turn or like
Mm.
see things in a different perspective. And that's kind of just like my thoughts on all of it is like what is life? Like, I don't
Mm.
know. It's kind of just going about your day.
Oh, hold on. You're muted.
Um,
There you go. You're back.
okay, sorry. I
You're good.
was fidgeting because I'm nervous, but I think it's about like, you know, your different interactions, sure, or even when you're by yourself, but um finding something that you can take value from it, I guess. Oh, this is really hard. I'm so sorry to all the listeners. This is my first time being on a podcast. I'm struggling. But
You're gold.
oh, I hope. But yeah, that's kind of just my thoughts about it. It's a very hard question.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about discovery, you know. I don't think there is a super definite answer for each individual that,
Yeah.
one size fits all. I don't think that's fair. And I think
That's
you're,
impossible,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
we're all so different. You literally
yeah,
can't have
yeah,
the
yeah,
same story. Like,
yeah,
no
yeah.
way. I
So
like
you're encompassing that. That's why it's
okay.
difficult. So yeah.
The
All right. So now
thoughts were there, the words weren't, but
the
it's
words
okay.
were
That's
there.
why I have you. That's why I have you.
No, that's you are more articulate than you think. This is just semantics. So people
Okay.
get it. People get it.
I
Now,
hope.
the easy one out.
Oh,
What advice would you give to young people, especially high schoolers and seniors in high school?
once again, the parents are gonna come for me, but enjoy your life. Like, I cannot emphasize that enough. In the grand scope of things, none of this whole like high school like academics extracurricular like none of it even really matters that much. Like yeah, sure, whatever. Like I'm saying it in a silly way, but as someone who I feel like has done a lot of different things and kind of almost demanded like excellence or perfection in all of it,
Yeah.
um a lot of it didn't give as much value to my life as investing in relationships with those
Mm,
around you. It's less about almost like what you do
yeah.
and more about your impact on people and how they impact you as well. It's not just like one way, it's how you interact with the people in your life. Because, like, I'm not saying everyone has to go out there and like do a huge networking event or whatever like
Yeah.
that, but I'm saying like even having like one or like two people who are really important to you and spending time with them,
Yeah.
like I think that's so important. Like I wish I didn't spend so much of my time in high school stressing out about being the best at this,
Mm,
getting an A, going to the top college, like
yeah.
blah blah blah, and wish I actually like went out with my friends, like go to a movie. Do people still do
Mm,
that? I don't know, but you know, like spending quality time with people because once you get to college, you're going to realize that
mm,
it's so much harder to keep those relationships with people that you had in high school. And that's what I really learned is that it's convenient for you in high school to hang out with your friends. You might as well take advantage of it
yeah.
because when you're in different states, unless you want to pay $800 to fly to another state,
Yeah.
like it's going to be so much harder. And so really cherish the time you have. Like I'm not saying completely shirk all of your responsibilities or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you don't need to take it that far. And in the grand scope of things, it's
Mm,
not that big of a deal.
yeah.
And it's the people that are going to stay with you, not the
Mm.
titles. Once you get to college, no one really cares what you did in high school. I'm gonna be really honest with you right now. So, yeah, I
And
Just saying, the coolest kids
Yeah,
here are the ones with hometown friends. So I don't know. That's just something that I've noticed, like being
yeah,
here is like no one really, everyone was like top of their class or whatever,
yeah,
whatever titles you want to throw out there. But what is
yeah,
really interesting is hearing more about people's friends from homes and what they did with their friends than like what necessarily they did
yeah,
to become the number one student in their class. And that's just my advice. And maybe that's more geared towards the Bay Area kids, but
yeah,
I feel like anyone, honestly, in high school can hear this and hopefully try at least a little bit, maybe like
yeah,
spend more time with your friends and have fun. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mia, thank you so much.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was a blast. That was a
Really?
blast. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. I can't believe how much you aged. Uh,
I know it's really bad. I'm gonna get wrinkly soon.
all right. And then when we sign off, we'll discuss a possible second episode. Um, so again,
Interesting.
everyone, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Mia, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun. I hope people kind of enjoyed.
I think they
Not
will.
sure. I'm scared for the kids from my high school to hear this.
No, 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 no.
Oh, it's
They-
gonna be circulating in the group chats. I'm gonna become a meme, but it's okay. It's fun.
I'll become a meme before you become a meme.
We can become memes together.
Great.
Iconic.
All right, everyone. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Bye.